Good Morning Mayberry is brought to you by Amass Studio, LLC.
This episode was recorded on Friday, February 1st, 2023, with Lapi.
Good morning, Mayberry.
Good morning, Mayberry. I am here with Lapi doing a unique kind of episode. This is going to be a unique release of episodes. We are actually doing a triple feature weekend. We're going to have 3 episodes coming out this weekend. And this episode, it's really very unique on its own. Lapi had some technical issues, and we ended up not being able to use my typical remote studio setup. So we ended up doing this recording using Zoom, which lets you download everybody's audio track into unique files, which makes it really nice and easy for editing. It's pretty cool. What it also does, because I don't pay Zoom, is it puts a time limit on things. So we had 40 minutes to fit this entire episode into, and I feel like we managed to use that 40 minutes pretty motherfucking well. So Lapi and I talk about our histories working in entertainment and broadcasting and performance. We talk about our experience with the business side of things that we've done creatively, and then we just kind of talk about each other. We talk about how we met. It's a good time. It's a really great episode. So grab some water and a snack or whatever. Let's sit down and have a little chat with Lapi. Trying out new things. This is such a situation. So many technical issues. I have a new mic. It's when you get a flat, you gotta put the spare on until you can get a new real tire. So I've got a microphone that's gonna have to make do. Joining us right now is Lapi. And we have just had a hell of a time getting in here. Lapi is connecting to audio as we speak. Lapi, still connecting to audio. Can you hear me? All right.
I'm in.
You're in. We are recording.
All right.
All right, indeed. We've had technical issues out the wazoo. I have a crunchy plastic water bottle that I'll be drinking out of periodically. I got a new headset that it cost me $8 at the GameStop. I could have gone for the $20 to $40 range, but I was like, I'm just gonna see what's up with this one. It was on clearance. It was originally $20 or something. So I was like, it's like a spare tire. Like, it's not like the real tire. I'm not gonna keep driving on this, but we're all gonna have to bear with it for a little bit.
Yeah, for now.
For now, yes, for now. Pretty soon the digs are gonna be perfect. And then we had a booking on Wednesday. And we couldn't make that happen because your Wi-Fi was obstructive. And you have had a harrowing ordeal sorting that out, and then you get that sorted out, and your equipment situation didn't quite work out the way that you had anticipated.
Nope.
And so we had to cut, and then my studio was not supportive of our situation with our equipment. So we've had multiple backup plan on backup plan on backup plan type of situation. We've been through a whole Wonderland experience. We went through an adventure even to just start this conversation for people. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it was worth it.
Right? I don't regret anything. I think it was great. And I got to learn so much about alternative ways that I can record with people with different access to different equipment. This actually sounds pretty good from what I can tell from here.
Yeah, it sounds great on my end.
Yeah, that's what's up. So Lapi, who are you and what do you do?
Oh my God, I am.
Let's do it like that.
That bitch. No, just kidding.
It's true.
I mean,
it's true though.
That's what they say. No, I am an artist from Chicago. I play the violin, I sing, I dance, I make my own beats. I am also a former child actor on a TV show. And I went to DePaul University for economics and dropped out to pursue music in 2014. So that's like pretty much who I am and what I'm doing.
That's what's up. And do you want to say what show you were on?
Sure. I was on The Good Time Kids, which is still running actually. It's a show modeled after the Mickey Mouse Playhouse,
Mm.
and somehow it seemed to avoid most of the trappings of the child star system, but it also was like a feeder show into Disney. So there was like
Oh,
a real chance that I would have gotten Harvey Weinstein. But luckily, I left the show after, aging out of it. And I was able to kind of just own my own brand after the fact. But yeah, it was a quite revealing experience when it comes to the entertainment industry for sure.
right. It sounds like when people used to say that marijuana is a gateway drug, and it was like a gateway production that could have led you towards
Yeah.
predators unknown, and instead you just kind of like chilled with
Mm,
you got the best of the training and the experience of being in a professional environment, and you fused that into your spirituality and your artistry, and came out as
mhm,
this shiny gem that you are.
mhm. I would say that's pretty accurate. I actually was in a play when I was in freshman year of high school. And that was my first foray into acting. And I got the lead part because my friend wanted me to go with her for moral support. And it was a British play. And I just like somehow totally got into the character and got the lead. And she unfortunately didn't make the play, but I thought it was a fluke, I thought I was like, oh, this is just like a one time, once in a lifetime thing, And a few years later, I'm on TV actually acting, and we're reading scripts, we're improvising, we're meeting celebrities and interviewing them, and we have fans, and like it was a very like, wow, I didn't expect to be an actor on TV ever. And, even since then, like, I'm like, wow, I did that. Like, I was an actual like actor on TV, but I really wanted to, of course, transition and break away from like the child acting prototype that was created for me. And I felt like I did that in at least recent times. So
Yeah, cool.
yeah, it's been cool. It's been a journey. I mean, what exactly is your entertainment, history? Because I know you know how to sing and you know how to edit and you know how to do a lot of things, but where did you get all that knowledge?
Uh, Here and there and all over the place. I've had a lot of cool training with like a range of different autodidactic kind of self-taught people and professionals and folks who've been through different trainings. I've done a little bit of professional training myself. I
Mm,
skirted the edges of getting into that kind of commercial sort of Hollywood realm of performing entertainment professionally as a kid, but I actually ended up in like religious cults, and I was kind of a
mm,
um like a prototype. There were traveling performing arts evangelical fundamentalist type things. I sort of was like it became more popular out, it's like you get like the Tammy Faye and Jay Baker energy and like lamb chop kind of stuff, and then people were like, well,
mhm,
let's take a act on on the road. It's kind of natural. People are doing circuses and ballets,
Mm-hmm.
traveling back. Touring has always been a thing, and like no, like normal, just like basic singing or theater or like kind of weirder, more niche
Mm-hmm.
performances. And so I had been involved with my family was involved with a lot of different groups when I was a kid. There was a group called Heart Song, and then they had like a sibling project called Colby that didn't tour but had like video media that they put out. And I wasn't in that group, but I was really young and got to observe them working. We my mother was into hosting groups like that, and um so yeah, I got to meet a lot of my like icons behind the scenes early. I also like weird random stuff. I got to meet like Ethan Hawke, Uma Thurman, and I kind of blew them off at I would think I was like 9 years old. I blew them off to meet Ernest Borgnine because they were filming Gattaca at my dad's job, and he had to take me to work for some reason. I feel like it was just take your kid to work day kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that day they were filming Gattaca. He may have brought me just because Ernest Borgnine was in the building, though. He is passed
Mm-hmm.
now, so I can't ask him to fill in details.
Yeah.
But yeah, stuff like that where it's like, then later Gattaca comes out and it's this thing where I get to see it. So I've always had this attraction to the production realm, and when I watched things, even as a young kid, I could see through the screen almost as though I was sitting behind the camera and like even expand the moments, like even as like scenes are cutting in real time and stuff that I'm watching, I could see what it took to evolve that scene and what cuts were made for what reasons. I was always looking for various things like that. And that just came naturally to me organically as an interest. And I curated that myself over time weird ways, and it was facilitated through different groups. I got to tour with a performing arts group when I was a teenager that was incredibly
Mm-hmm.
traumatic and also incredibly like formative, and it's one of them complicated type circumstances where it made me incredibly unique, but also I'm kind of like it would have been neat if I could have had a slightly more normal life, I suppose.
Yeah.
um but yeah, I have like the pace of everything that evangelical fundamentalist performing arts groups, when kids are devoted to them, the pace of that is very, very similar to Hollywood. And what I'm discovering now in my adult life is how merged those environments actually are. And it's kind of like a kayfabe situation for them to even have the illusion of being pitted against each other, because even a lot of the time you find people that straddle a line of behavior and represent both in ways that conflict and contradict, but uh,
Mm-hmm.
the principles, the doctrines of the conflicting worlds actually do align in some ways. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. But you were never starstruck, it seems. Like you were never like trying to be somebody's, team or, ever trying to like kiss anybody's ass in this industry. You were always just kind of make your own thing.
I never have to try to do that. When I do try, it doesn't really take. Often, I find myself kind of put in the center of circumstances or put in a position where I'm holding a lot of responsibility or, presenting things or kind of helping to shepherd people. I've worked as a stage manager, for example, too, and just recently was offered the opportunity to be considered for a stage manager position and consider a stage manager
Mm,
position, kind of out of the blue, basically
mm,
manifested it. But so things like that, um, and then my performance capacity to, you've heard me sing a little bit. Um,
mhm,
I also I act. There's a range of things I can bring to the table. I can write, I can direct. There's like stuff that I can do that's full circle and all encompassing. And so I tend to make the job easier for whoever it is that's working in partnership with me. If I'm directing, it's easier for my actors. If I'm acting, it's easier for my directors. All the different
mhm.
roles because I understand how they work together. And so, and that's been a growing thing throughout my life. It was always kind of like all of the things sort of all at
Mhm.
once, like in different projects at different times, but like in the same year, I'd get like multitudes of experience that would dovetail
Mm.
together.
Yeah, the man of many hats, but you
Yeah.
also like can fill a role like that's needed so that every other part that's, moving around you is able to work with you.
Right. And because I was doing it early on, I recognized the unsustainability of that type of role because that is a useful role and is something that shows up often in places. Unfortunately, sometimes that can become something that either is like addictive to the people that are able to do it or the people that are relying on them kind of need to have them in that role or something. But there is a way to facilitate that energy and empower people to be their best selves and sort of kind of, lightly mentor or manage or whatever and get people to get it moving in a way that I can generally step back and away from whatever system I've been operating in. Um,
Mm.
and I've
I
gotten
mean,
the opportunity.
that's,
Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, like, that's humble of you in this industry of egos, you know?
Well, I took it's the same with the church, people will get fused into their role and really kind of get addicted to the praise that comes along with the performance. But I don't know if there's maybe something wrong with me, but honestly, I feel like it's actually bit me in the ass a lot where I end up in positions where I'm like, wow, I did not see that betrayal coming, or I did not see that because a lot of the time, part of why I never merged into a more commercial entertainment, like sort of track where like my opportunities are to scale with my talent and skill and capacity to learn and grow and fuse with a team and all that. Um, I, I have generally had someone I considered a friend in quote unquote partnership with me. And then that person basically will cannibalize me or kind of jettison off of me, like use me as fuel to shoot their little rocket a little bit further in a way that frankly I don't see as necessary because with their talent, like there's a pace that I thought that we could move along neck and neck or like support each other, be of common yoke or whatever, if you will. Like, but
Yeah, you very accurately said it. Cannibalizing. It's the big fish eats the little fish, you know?
well, it seems like it's a little fish that when I really kind of has scaled back because I'm old now, I'm 37, and this has been happening for a while. Um, it's happened. There's a couple of stories. I don't know if I'll get into them today, but some stories with people that have gotten um, very grandiose opportunities, spectacular opportunities, and they've really squandered them. I don't know how you make it all the way to like cable television, performing backup behind Kendrick Lamar as the only backup singer on stage and still become somebody that, like nobody's fucking heard of.
Mm,
Um, it's an interesting thing also to see how the people I grew up with, how they have gotten into roles and get opportunities that are totally antithetical to the morals that they carry and the
hmm
understanding that they have of what makes up the world. So that's bizarre too, because I'm very like upfront about the way that I think. I don't have performative virtues. I'm not really
hmm
capable of doing that, never have been. And so that's another thing that goes into my experience is that I've dismantled cults a couple of
Mm.
times. And when I was a teenager, one particular cult that had very domineering plans and wanted to take over globally, and they did make a major impact. They traveled the country doing performing arts in the form of mime to contemporary Christian music. And
Mm.
so there was a time where like conservative churches didn't dance at all. And we basically came in and gave them access to a form of dance that they could do conservatively. And so it was very exciting when we went to places like Alabama and Kentucky and Virginia, Pennsylvania. And, we were like, like crossing the aisle in ways that religious denominations didn't do at the time. We went to a Quaker church at one point. We were supposed to be non-denominational fundamentalist evangelicals, and that's like its own wonky wonderland of an experience. But
Mm,
I got to sort of experience different ways of approaching stuff and see people that lived in a wide range of mainly whitewashed and conservative lifestyles, but there's some nuance even in that demographic.
mhm,
That I feel people probably we'd get a little further with conversations that conflict between demographics that don't understand each other if we if
mhm,
we value that even there. If we can
mm,
value the nuance in whiteness, we can value the nuance in everything. I feel like, you know what I mean?
mm,
Anyway.
yeah. No, our stories are so intertwined, even like when it comes to our childhood experiences. The show I was on NRB, National Religious Broadcasting, and the show was produced by an independent company called Tesu, which is led by Eric Taylor and his wife Sue Taylor, and they are evangelical Christians, right? Well, the show, in order for it to be on the network, and the network is on DirecTV, it's the biggest Christian network in America, and
Mm,
I think like they get like something like 300,000, or more viewers like daily or something. I don't know, some weird number. I probably more now since it was like 10 years ago, but
Christians be
um
watching their TVs. They into that shit.
yeah, they really really liked the show too, and the show had to have some form of Christian, element, teaching, whatever, in order to be on the network. But the show, for all intents and purposes, was not very, you would say, Christian. It was just like a kids show with like a 30-second Bible reading in between, but there was the evangelical influence, of course, of the people running it, who themselves, they pushed their beliefs onto us. And me being
Right.
a queer, and also others on set being queer, and us being kids, and us being on a Christian show, we were forced to repress our identities in order for us to be in our roles. And, it's like a lot of pressure to be not queer in front of the camera, or not queer even backstage, not queer, at all around anything related to the show, because if anybody sees, finds out, or hears you being kind of like anti whatever the Christian norm is, then you're off the show, and maybe the whole show could be compromised, right? To
Right.
learn that one of the actors on the show is queer, and they are a Christian network, they could just take the whole show off.
Yeah.
So it was kind of
Yeah.
like, wow, I
Yeah.
did have to compromise my identity in order to fit in. And then we were going to like churches to perform, but also just kind of like be there. And now that I look back on it, I'm like, wait, we had like Indian kids on the show, we had like Polish kids on the show, we had Chinese kids on the show, we had all types of kids from all different walks of life, and we were all forced to go to their church and learn their religion and sit there and be quiet and look good, so that the show could benefit, but also so that I'm sure they could program us and indoctrinate us a little bit. And it was a little bit of like a kind of coercive thing when it came to the church thing, like, oh, you have to go to be on
Yeah.
the show. And it's like, but we don't believe in your religion, so why do we have to go to your church to just be on the show? It was like kind
That's
of
that's
crossing
part of
those
the
streams.
sorry, say again. Finish.
It was crossing those streams.
Right. Yeah, no, it's making me think of the like Lou Taylor and kind of Kardashian religious experience. It's like But they've been kind of the opposite about it. It's weird how it works when you're behind the scenes, though, where you get that pressure, but
Hmm.
then you're supposed to perform it naturally to just encourage. But they're trying to formulate role models, is essentially
Mm,
it. And then that's really where that concept of role model even probably comes from. Is they're like, you're not being a good role model, but it's like, no, who even said anybody's supposed to do that? Except you all made up this idea that you're gonna have robot people, android concept people that you just program with your ideas
hmm.
and make popular and sell your idea along with your commercial product, and you make money and influence people at the same time without literally without doing any work to do so. They want everybody
Hmm.
else to carry it for them, and then they're mad when they're like, "We're gonna sue for what I'm just
Hmm.
Blue Taylor to the max." Uh,
No, like in retrospect, looking at it, I'm like, I could have been soft recruited for a cult if like I wasn't more, if I wasn't older, like I was luckily 16 when I started, the show. So I was at least, you know, I was formed in my identity of who I was, and I wasn't willing to like change who I was, but I was willing to hide it. And that's just simply because I was still impressionable and I was still willing to do whatever I needed to do to like be seen, validated, and be a good kid and do all those things. So, it was always like, wow, I'm basically I felt, I was basically in a Britney Spears type of situation on low key, but I never really woke up to that until it actually came full circle as an adult, where I'm an artist now and I'm signed, and my record label is run by a friend of Britney Spears' manager, right? Larry Rudolph. The manager actually, well, his friend is also another manager of Camila Cabello, and his name is Roger Gold. Okay.
mm,
So I, find out this guy's in control of my career, or at least, has a position of power over me. And I escape, his like grubby claws
mm,
and find out all of this stuff about the conservatorships and like how they work and how they wrap people in, and then finding out like Lou Taylor and the religious aspects of it, and then it gets real. It's like, wow, so this whole industry, right, there are real cults running companies, and they are
mm.
bringing in young, queer, black, all types of people to control them, to take all the resources and redistribute them to, you know, who else? The whiter, male, older, richer people. And
Right,
it's like,
and
wow, that's the system.
by resources, it's money that is made off of their labor, their work, their likeness, their image, their soul. And then,
Mm,
like, all of this work is in music and storytelling, which are the two most powerful forms of communication magic the human species has.
mm,
So when you say what you said, that is what they're grifting. That's what they're saying.
mm,
It's from both ends too. They're like mining people to sell their gems, like that was
mm.
precious about them coming from the inside that they're formulating, and then they want all the money from that too. Like they're harvesting
Oh
it
yeah.
unduly.
Not
And
just the money. Oh no, they want the money, they want the rights, they want the decision making power, they want the people, in your life to like. I've been told by billionaires, right? Like, "Oh, I'll give you all this money and all of these resources to be able to do what you do, but then not only do you owe me, right? But then if you can't pay me, well, I'm just going to end up controlling every aspect of your life, and your wife, your kids, your friends, your family,
mhm.
everybody will be under my control, essentially, because as an extension of you, right, they have to do whatever it takes in order to make that money. And they really, truly, honestly believe they have the power to do so. And as I've seen, if they convince you that, well, then they do. if they
Mhm.
can convince you that they control everything and that they can ruin your life by just simply, pressing a button, I've seen people go so far to protect themselves that they actually hurt somebody. It's
Yeah.
scary.
Well, and okay, so just one thing. We have a maximum of 40 minutes. So we've got about 10 minutes left to wrap this part of the
Oh,
conversation
okay.
up.
So this is
So
like the
what we can
intro.
do is I'll put this episode out basically immediately, probably before the episode I'm editing today, perhaps. And then
Hmm.
we'll start another call and we'll have 40 minutes to do our second part and cover some
Hmm.
other topics that we won't even get into in this episode. We won't even mention them. Let's
Yeah.
get back into talking about general things and
Yeah.
each other. Um,
Okay. Yeah, this is
because
just like the appetizer.
right, and I want to talk about something nice. I want to talk about what drew me to you because you are
Hmm.
gorgeous and you are brilliant and you are brave and you are considerate. And somehow I just like knew this. Like I saw you on the internet and I was like, who is this person? And I can't quite remember exactly where we found each other. It could have been
Hmm.
in the comment section of somebody who has since blocked me in the last few weeks.
Hmm.
So what a miracle that we were able to
I
do that.
remember the first time, at least we really truly interacted, was about the Halloween. Um, yes, the Halloween uh contest. I remember that,
Uh-huh.
and you
Oh,
had
when I was doing
asked me.
the faces of horror, the face of horror contest.
Yes, you asked me
Okay.
to vote for you, and I did, and I kept voting for you. And eventually it just evolved into like supporting each other's work.
Oh, I love that. You're
Yeah.
so great. That's wonderful. Some burlesque bitch, some like, like white, like horror, like she like makes like Halloween her personality type bitch one. So, and she has like a burlesque following. So I was like, oh, there's
Oh.
no wonder. Because you could pay for more vote, your community could pay for extra votes. It was a competition, but it was also like a fundraiser for some cause. And so they were using
Yeah.
us to milk our communities to get us the prize so that they could get them to give donations for this cause. It was pretty crafty. I'm not sure how I ultimately feel about it, but I'm so glad. See what I'm saying? People can
Yeah.
meet in the darkest of places or the most confusing or bizarre. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, honestly, I think, it was for the best. Like, you got the notoriety, you got more people in your network. Just those types of things, like, they get things started. It's funny, the
Yeah.
smallest little types of, events like that, they just get things going sometimes. And you might not even be actively involved in that thing anymore, but it got these things started. So, you kind of got to say thank you a little bit.
It's true. Yeah, it was a frustrating, interesting, and bizarre ordeal. Ultimately, I was pretty depressed about some parts of it too, because I'd reach out to my community that I had already, and they would just like leave me on red sometimes, and I'd be like, "Did you vote?" And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that thing." And I'm like, "Literally, you can
Mhm,
vote every day. Like it
mhm,
takes 25 seconds. I get it that
mhm.
it's like not something you do all the time, but you also scroll on TikTok for 5 hours at least every day of your life. Can you please do
Yeah.
something for me a little bit in the internet? I'm even asking you to do something real, like help me move or say, like can I come over
Mhm.
for dinner? Or, like, you know what I mean? Like, is hey, hang out with me, be a person in my real life. Like, no, like go on the fucking internet, please. Use your thing. Do it taking a shit, assholes. And no, but then there's you. And so I had to like realize like who was really supportive of me and who could see clearly, even though because people will love me, but they'll not be able to see like what it is that's happening around me, what
Mhm.
the qualities of my life, the context of my life, the things that I've been through, because people be like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps energy. And I'll be like, all right, fine. I can't take it anymore and I'm not dying yet. So I'll try. And then magic happens because apparently I'm supposed to be doing the work I'm doing. I'm supposed to be like carving out the life I'm carving out and burning the legacy into the world that I'm trying to burn into the world. So I somehow am surviving. You know,
Mm,
the Faces of Horror thing was kind of, it was just an example. It
mm,
was a superficial reminder of how hard it had been in the past,
mm,
to kind of like get support around something that I'm like, this is pretty big. It's not difficult for you to support me, and it would really
mm.
change everything for me if this worked out.
Yeah,
Like, or at least if people gave a shit. Like it's
yeah,
uh so yeah, but it was a learning experience, and I've grown a lot from it, and I regret nothing. Like I am like, uh I'm good with it all. It's all chilling.
that's good. I'm glad, I'm glad that you're able to move on to bigger and better things. And, we'll be talking about some of the things that you had to move on from since.
We will in shortly in the next
Yeah.
episode. Um, but yeah, I'm really glad to find people like you. Like it's a cool thing to go through crises and see. It's like Mr. Rogers shit, like find the helpers, like that in real
Yeah.
time all the time. Once I started to get really excited about that part, my struggles became less burdensome, and once I stopped feeling them like a burden, my entire life flipped like a game board and things got right side up and
Mm,
everything started working. So,
yes.
yeah. Uh yeah, I've got challenges still, but it's since things are right side up, they're below my eye level. They're not towering over me in an
Good.
upside down world.
You're not letting them win. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. Like, I could have let my label win. I could have let, the industry in itself win against me when it came to trying to silence me and trying to blackball me and trying to just intimidate me.
Mm.
But I kept fighting, I wrote books. I, was out there sharing my story, and I still go out there and remind people sometimes, like, yeah, they tried it. They absolutely tried it on me and they failed. So, my foot is constantly on their neck.
Mm. Talk about your books for a minute.
Okay. Well, the first one I wrote was the Roger Gold Chronicles. And it started as an investigative report about the label. The label is 300 Entertainment, which is under Warner Brothers now. And I pretty much connected him to Larry Rudolph, Scooter Braun, Lou Taylor, L.A. Reid, and this Russian-born billionaire named Lynn Blavatnik, who has ties to Donald Trump and to Vladimir Putin.
Mm.
So I pretty much had just like created this map of the industry and where I was and where I came in contact with this circle of power that I had discovered. And then slowly I had realized, wow, these people are actually like very dangerous
Mm.
and they have ties to a very dangerous like narrative in this industry where if you are abused or if you have been a victim of abuse, then you are silenced, you are put under NDAs, you are sabotaged, you are essentially like excommunicated. And I felt like that was very cult like behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I left the label completely and cut ties with every single person related to them, they had made threats of death to my
Mm.
life. They said the only way out is death. That is what I was told by a top executive at the label. And that's when the alarm bells of cult really started ringing. I'm like, nah, this is something deeper and darker, and I'm gonna have to get to the bottom of it. Because why would I even know about this stuff, if this wasn't something that needs to be talked about, that needs to be uncovered? So I really did some digging and I went into it and I found all of these connections now to Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein.
Mm.
And, the connections are literally like, they are friends, they are
Right.
financial partners, they are, like, have been spotted, at the same parties, and we know what was going on at these parties, so I'm like, okay, these people are the ones running the label. These people are the ones who are in charge of, top charting artists' lives, and they wanted me. They were almost like, they almost had me in a sense. So I really felt like it was necessary to tell everybody what I had gone through, my experience. So I released that, and it got a lot of traction within the Free Britney movement, because I had actually tangentially mentioned Britney Spears and the conservatorship, and how she was an example of, somebody who had got, and
Right.
what their plan for me was in the end game, to completely control my circle of friends, family, my money, my entire career, and to be able to siphon that and, do what they want with it. So I was like, very actively, connecting Britney Spears, the conservatorship, with this circle of power.
Mm.
Then the whole Free Britney movement popped. I don't know what happened. It was like, I released the book a week before the 13th year mark of the conservatorship in
Okay.
2020,
Okay.
November 2020.
Okay. There was a lot that changed then. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, so we
And
have
then,
1 minute left. We got 1 minute
oh,
left before we get cut off. Plug your pluggables. Tell people where to find you.
okay. Find me on Instagram at Lapi, Lapi, so savage, or Google my name, Lapi, Lapi on the beat.
That's what's up. Thank you so much for coming on. I am looking forward to reconnecting with you in like an instant and doing our next session. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We've got a lot to talk about.
Thank you so much. See you in a sec.
Bye.
Wow, thanks so much for listening, and thanks to Lapi for coming on the show. We've got a triple feature weekend. There are 3 episodes coming out. There's this one that you just listened to, and then up next, we've got an episode with Jaden Young from Eat Predators. Jaden's been a presence in the book club and the Discord community, and recently I was informed that he was making some pretty concerning posts about feeling unheard and that he needed to get his voice out there. So I was already working on editing his episode, and these other episodes with Lapi came up yesterday. They all really dovetailed well together, and I feel like they make up one set. It's a trilogy, if you will. So please like and rate us everywhere. We have definitely been undergoing a bit of an attack here, a little cyber attack. And so people have been downgrading the podcast and trying to block and report and do all kinds of bananas bullshit. So if you like us, you can help by acting like our street crew and going around to all the platforms and going ahead and liking us, subscribing everywhere. Our YouTube has a comment section. You're free to leave little notes to the world about how you feel about the show. So whether you hate us or love us, I encourage you to interact. And we also have a phone number you can reach out if you want to leave a message, contact me about anything, if you have any information you want to share or anything you'd like to scream at me about. I welcome it all. I am thirsty for that haterade, and I love it just as much as the sweet tea that people are delivering to me as well. So you can reach me by phone at 415-3434-420. And with that, I'm really just going to leave it here. This has been Good Morning Mayberry. This is an Amass Studio production. Thank you again to Lapi for coming through and having this chat with me. I really appreciate your friendship and your association. I'm looking forward to making the world a better place with you. And for now, always remember to never forget.
You are sabotaged, excommunicated. And I felt like that was very cult-like behavior. And then when I left the label completely and cut ties with every single person related to them, they had made threats. They said the only way out is death. And that's when the alarm bells of cult really started ringing. I'm like, nah, this is something deeper and darker, and I'm gonna have to get to the bottom of it. Because why would I even know about this stuff if this wasn't something that needs to be talked about, that needs to be uncovered?
Good Morning Mayberry is brought to you by Amass Studio, LLC.